The ancient temple had been buried under the red sands of Mars for over 3 billion years. Nobody knew it was there until a mining drone broke through the ceiling and tumbled into darkness below. When the video feed showed carved walls and strange symbols, the entire human colony went crazy with excitement. Captain James Rivera was the first human to step inside. His boots crunched on stone that no living thing had touched since before life existed on Earth. The beam of his flashlight swept across walls covered in pictures that show beings made of fire and light. They walked among stars and held galaxies in their hands. "Command, are you seeing this?" James whispered into his radio. "We see it, Captain. Keep moving forward." James walked deeper into the temple. The air grew warmer with each step. His suit sensors detected energy readings that made no sense. The walls began to glow with a soft orange light, as if the temple itself was waking up. At the center of the temple, he found it. A crystal sphere the size of his fist sat on a pedestal of black stone. Inside the sphere, something burned. It was not fire like James knew fire. This flame moved with purpose. It danced and swirled as if it was alive and thinking. "What is that thing?" someone asked over the radio. James reached out his hand. Every warning in his training told him to stop, but something deeper pulled him forward. His fingers touched the warm surface of the sphere. The universe exploded inside his mind. James saw everything. He saw the birth of stars and the death of worlds. He saw beings of pure energy creating life across 1,000 galaxies. He saw them hide their greatest creations when darkness came to destroy them. And he saw this sphere, the fire relic, being placed on Mars when it was still young and full of water. Then he saw something else. He saw humans. He saw them crawling out of caves and looking up at the stars. He saw them building fires to push back the night. He saw them never giving up, never stopping, always asking questions and searching for answers. The vision showed him that the fire relic had been waiting. It had been waiting for a species curious enough to find it and brave enough to touch it. James pulled his hand back. The sphere lifted from its pedestal and floated toward him. It sank into his chest without pain, and James felt warmth spread through his entire body. His eyes glowed orange for a moment before returning to normal. "Captain Rivera, report. What happened?" James took a deep breath. He felt different. He felt more than human. "I think," he said slowly, "humanity just changed forever." The news spread across Earth and all human colonies in hours. Scientists came from everywhere to study the temple, but they found nothing more. The fire relic had chosen its bearer, and James Rivera was now something new. At first, James did not understand his power. He could feel heat and energy all around him. He could sense the tiny fires burning inside every living thing. With practice, he learned to create flames from nothing. He could make fire so hot it turned metal to vapor, or so gentle it would warm a child without burning. But the relic gave him more than fire. It gave him knowledge. Ancient memories floated up in his dreams. He saw the fire makers, the beings who had created the relic millions of years ago. They were explorers and creators who wanted to spread life across the universe. The fire relic was one of 7 artifacts they had made, each holding a different cosmic power. The galactic community took notice quickly. Humanity was still young among the stars. They had only been traveling through space for 200 years. Many alien species saw them as children playing with dangerous toys. But now a human held one of the most powerful objects in existence. Ambassador Zoltar of the Vreen Empire demanded a meeting. The Vreen were ancient and proud. They had ruled 100 star systems for 10,000 years. They did not like surprises. "This relic belongs to the cosmos," Zoltar declared. His 4 eyes narrowed at James across the conference table. "It is too powerful for such a young species. You will give it to us for safekeeping." James shook his head. "It chose me. I do not think it can be given away. Then we will take it." The threat hung in the air. Earth's leaders looked worried. The Vreen had warships that could destroy planets. Humanity had nothing that could match their power. But James stood up calmly. I understand your concern. You have protected this region of space for thousands of years. But the Firemakers did not hide their relics so the powerful empires could collect them. They hid them so that curious species would find them. What does that mean? Zoltar demanded. It means the relic tests its finders. It shows them visions and asks them questions. If they are not ready, it remains dormant forever. But if they are ready, it awakens. James let a small flame dance across his palm. It was beautiful and warm. The Firemakers believed that curiosity is sacred. They believed that any species brave enough to explore, to question, to seek answers in the dark, deserves the power to shape the universe. Humans did not conquer this relic. We earned it by being what we have always been. We ask questions. We refuse to accept limits. We touched what we did not understand, because understanding it was more important than fear. Zoltar was silent for a long moment. Then he laughed, a deep rumbling sound. You are either very wise or very foolish human. Perhaps both. The Vreen will watch and wait. If you prove worthy of this power, you may become great allies. If not, we will be there to clean up your mess. It was not friendship, but it was not war either. James accepted it as a start. Over the next months, James trained with his new abilities. He learned that the fire relic responded to emotion and will. When he wanted to protect, it made shields of flame. When he wanted to create, it made light. When he was angry, it burned like a star. But the relic also taught him control. The Firemakers had been wise beings who understood that power without wisdom leads to destruction. James spent hours in meditation, learning to balance strength with peace. Then the darkness came. It arrived without warning. A fleet of black ships appeared at the edge of human space. They were not like any vessel anyone had seen before. They absorbed light and energy. Sensors could barely detect them. And when they attacked the colony world, they left nothing behind but ash and silence. The Vreen sent word across all channels. The Void Eaters have returned. They destroyed the Firemakers long ago. They hunger for all life and light. Prepare for extinction. James felt cold fear in his heart. But within that fear, the fire relic burned brighter. Humanity had found an ancient cosmic power. Now they would learn what it truly meant to wield it. The first Void Eater ship entered Earth's solar system 3 days after the colony attack. It was massive, larger than some moons, and it moved with terrible purpose. Every scanner on every human station tracked its approach with growing dread. James Rivera stood on the bridge of the warship Unity. Around him, human officers worked at their stations with pale faces but steady hands. They were scared, but they were not running. Captain Rivera, the Admiral said, our weapons have no effect on these ships. The Vreen have been fighting them for centuries and never won. What can you do? James looked out at the approaching darkness. The fire relic pulsed inside him, feeding him information and strength. The Void Eaters consume energy, James said slowly. They absorb everything and turn it into emptiness. But fire is different. Fire does not just give energy. Fire transforms. Fire changes one thing into another. He closed his eyes and reached deep inside himself. The memories of the Firemakers showed him what he needed to know. The Void Eaters were not evil in the way humans understood evil. They were broken things, creatures from the spaces between galaxies where nothing should exist. They consumed because consumption was all they knew. But fire could teach them something else. I need to get closer, James said. That is suicide, the Admiral replied. Maybe, but humanity did not reach the stars by playing it safe. They gave him a small shuttle. James flew it alone toward the enormous black ship. As he approached, he felt the cold of the Void Eater pressing against him. It was a hunger so deep that it wanted to swallow everything, even itself. James opened his hands, and the fire relic responded. Flames erupted from his body, not to attack, but to communicate. The fire carried emotion and meaning. It carried the warmth of human homes and the light of human hope. It carried every campfire that had pushed back the night and every candle lit in darkness. The Void Eater paused. Its hunger was still there, but something else stirred within it. It had never felt warmth before. It had only known the cold emptiness of the void. James pushed harder. He showed the Void Eater what fire truly was. Not destruction, but transformation. Fire turned wood into heat. Fire turned raw metal into tools. Fire turned fear into courage. You do not have to consume, James spoke through the flames. You can create. You can transform. You can be more than empty. The Void Eater shuddered. Deep inside its darkness, a tiny spark appeared. It was small and weak, but it was there. Light where there had never been light before. James poured everything he had into that spark. The fire relic blazed with power it had not shone since the time of the fire makers. Other human ships reported that the space around James glowed like a small sun. The spark inside the Void Eater grew. It spread through the darkness like fire spreading through dry wood. The black ship began to change. Its terrible hunger faded as warmth filled the places that had been empty. The other Void Eater ships stopped their approach. They felt what was happening to their companion. They felt something they had never experienced before. Choice. They could continue as they always had, consuming until nothing remained. Or they could accept the fire and become something new. James did not force them. He offered. That was the way of the fire makers. That was the way of humanity. You could not force curiosity. You could not demand growth. You could only show that another path existed. One by one, the Void Eater ships began to glow with inner light. The transformation was slow and difficult. Millions of years of hunger did not disappear in a moment. But the beginning was there. The largest Void Eater spoke to James through patterns of light. We remember now. Long ago, before the void claimed us, we were explorers too. We sought the spaces between stars. We went too far and lost ourselves. Then find yourselves again, James replied. The universe is big enough for all of us. When James returned to the Unity, he collapsed from exhaustion. The fire relic had nearly burned itself out pushing through so much power. But he was alive, and Earth was safe. The galactic community could not believe what had happened. The Vreen, who had fought the Void Eaters for centuries without success, demanded to know how a young human had done the impossible. I did not fight them, James explained when he recovered. I taught them. That is what humans do. We learn, and then we share what we learned. We lift each other up. Ambassador Zoltar visited Earth personally after that. He walked through human cities and watched human children playing in parks. He saw how humans treated each other, their kindness and their cruelty, their weakness and their strength. You are a strange species, Zoltar told James. So young, so fragile, and yet you hold a cosmic relic and befriend ancient enemies. What is your secret? James thought about the question. We ask questions. We never stop wondering what is possible. When we see darkness, we build fires. When we see problems, we look for solutions. When we see strangers, we try to find common ground. Even with creatures that want to destroy you, especially with them. Because usually, they do not really want destruction. They want something else but do not know how to ask for it. Zoltar made a sound that might have been respect. The fire makers were wise to hide their relic on your world. Perhaps they saw what you could become. The Void Eaters did not disappear. They retreated to the edges of known space to continue their transformation. It would take generations for them to fully change. But they were no longer enemies. They were something else, something new that the universe had never seen before. Humanity's place in the galaxy changed after that. They were no longer seen as children playing with dangerous toys. They were seen as a species that could turn enemies into friends, that could find hope in darkness, that could ask questions powerful enough to change the universe. James Rivera spent the rest of his life teaching others about the fire relic. He found that he could share small portions of its power with other humans, awakening the fire within them. A new generation grew up understanding both the strength and responsibility that came with cosmic power. Scientists eventually found hints about the other 6 relics. They were hidden across the galaxy, waiting for curious hands to find them. Humanity began the search, not for conquest, but for discovery. The Firemakers had left their gifts for any species ready to receive them. Humanity proved they were ready by being exactly what they had always been: curious, stubborn, hopeful, willing to touch the unknown and transform it through understanding. The galaxy was vast and full of mysteries, but wherever darkness gathered, human fires would push it back. Not with violence, but with warmth. Not with conquest, but with questions. The fire relic had awakened, and through it, humanity awakened too. They had discovered ancient cosmic power, but more importantly, they had discovered that their greatest power had been inside them all along. The fire of curiosity, the flame of hope, the warmth that transforms everything it touches. This was humanity's gift to the universe, and the universe would never be the same.